Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my August 2024 reading vlog. It's a little bit weirdly dark in here because my big light doesn't work anymore, so this is just my lamp light now. So far this month all I have started is my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster book, and that is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. It is a story about a man and his son trekking their way through a post-apocalyptic world and struggling to survive. I have just started it today, and so far it is very simple but very, very well written. A lot of it is conversations between the man and his son, just about the state of the world, questions about what the world used to be, and sort of discussions about who is good and who is bad and who they can trust. So far it's very, very good, but I know it's going to be very, very upsetting, but of course I will talk more about that in the vlog dedicated to it. As for the rest of the month, my sibling has tasked me to read a giant omnibus of the DC Detective Comics run where Batman has teamed up with Batwoman, Tim Drake, Cassandra Cain, Clayface, and Stephanie Brown to fight a bunch of bad guys in a giant doorstopper omnibus. So we will see if I get through that. As for the rest of the month, I'm not entirely sure what I will be picking up. I do have a busy month as I am seeing a concert next week, so stay tuned for all of that good stuff. Hello everyone, it has been a minute. I am here to do a very quick clip about the update. So it is August 16th and I've had a very busy month so far. First of all, I went to see ATEEZ in concert in Toronto on the 8th. You will be seeing the little mini concert vlog of that next month. And during that trip, something else exciting also happened. I got engaged. My partner popped the question. Of course, I said yes. It was very, quiet, personal, and I'm extremely excited. No plans yet, just the engagement. Besides that, I had a very great trip to Toronto. We went to every single BMV and we went shopping around, and it was really fun. And then this week I went to visit my dad and we were house sitting, and the owner of that house has 2 giant dogs, so I will show those clips here. And while I was doing all of that, I have been reading, of course. So I finished The Road by Cormac McCarthy, and I'm giving that 3 stars. It is a very well written, simple and emotional story, and I will talk more about that in the vlog dedicated to that. And then I also started and finished Rouge by Mona Awad. Now, this is the 3rd book that I have read by Mona Awad. I have her 2 previous books, Bunny and All's Well, up there. This book I liked at first. I liked the premise. So the premise is essentially the main character, Belle, has to return back to California in the event of her mother's death, and she has to settle all of her affairs. And it is implied that she does not have a very good relationship with her mother. Her mother was very beautiful, very pale, very redheaded, very white beauty standards, and Belle does not meet those, so there's a lot of resentment there. She has a big obsession with skincare, trying to make herself as perfect as she saw her mother. And then she finds out that her mother has been involved with this spa called Rouge, and she finds herself falling into that. So that is a good premise in itself. However, I just did not think this book was done very well. I didn't like it as much as I liked Bunny and as much as I liked All's Well. If you see me looking down, it's because I wrote down a few bullet points so I know what I'm talking about. So the first thing I didn't like about this book is that there are a lot of ideas in here. It's very fairy tale based. It has a lot of different aesthetics and a lot of different themes. And I just thought that it was too much to tackle in a book that is fairly short. Mona Awad typically does shorter stories and those are good, but this just has a lot going on and I don't think that it was developed enough. Like the strained relationship between a mother and a daughter, and Western beauty standards, obsession with skincare and looking perfect, the capitalist idea behind all of that. And then she also tried to have men's responses to all this and romance and stuff. It was just a lot to try and jam into this one story. Second, this was not the best depiction of what is considered now an online parasocial relationship. Belle has a certain skincare influencer that she watches, and I just think that there wasn't enough done with that. She mostly just watches her late into the night, and there's no real connection there. There could have been a good mini plot line where she notices that the influencer has changed her ideas on something or has changed the product or is trying to just simply make more money. She could notice that she's doing more ads or more a certain company sort of brand deal. I don't know. I just feel like that could have been one of the subjects that was gone into more detail and been sort of a mini plot to reflect that Belle is falling into the ideas of Rouge and realizing that this is all a huge scam. So through that influencer's videos developing into something more capitalist, I feel like Belle could have then realized that she needs the veil lifted off of her own head. Just an idea. Third thing, I felt that I didn't really know Belle as a character prior to the tragedy and prior to her connection with Rouge. I therefore didn't have any connection to her, nor did I care about the stakes. Like, she could have completely fallen under and I wouldn't have cared. So I just felt like there needed to be a little bit more done with her prior to the tragedy, because I totally understand death and grief does change a person, but we didn't know who she was really prior to this death. And one of my biggest disappointments in this novel, Mona Awad is really, really good at depicting female friendships. In her other two novels, Bunny and All's Well, there is a sort of grounding female character for both of the main characters. No matter what they do in both of their stories, there's a fallout between them. There's a good relationship between the two female characters. It's usually the main character and her best friend, or the main character and her coworker. And that character essentially helps them out of the struggle that they're going through. And this book was severely lacking in that. There tried to be one, but that character was considered one of the, not antagonists, but one of the people against her the entire novel. So it didn't really work out the best. There was a severe lack of good female relationships in this book, and I noticed it. And finally, mild spoiler alert for anyone who is still interested in the book. I would still say go for it if you love Mona Awad, but Tom Cruise connected to some sort of cult-like story. So funny, so clever, never been done before. How original, and not eye-rolling. So ultimately, I'm giving this book a 2-star, which is very upsetting because I do like Mona Awad's other stories. I still really like Bunny, and I really, really like All's Well. I'll have to do a reread of Bunny, but I think All's Well is my favorite story by Mona Awad. So I'm glad this book is done. I am now currently reading Paris the Memoir by Paris Hilton. I am about 200 pages into her memoir, and she is essentially talking about how her struggles growing up led to her becoming the huge proto-influencer of the early 2000s that she became. She obviously brings up her connections with the Hilton family, how rich they are, how powerful they are, and how influential they are. And she mentions having ADHD as a reason for doing all of the wild stuff she does. She leaves out a lot about herself, a lot of certain, issues that we don't really talk about. But otherwise, she is admitting a lot of the stuff she did was just for fun, and her persona of Paris Hilton, that being her blue contacts and her baby voice, was all a huge character. I totally understand that, but she's certainly avoiding a few certain things that led to a lot of those decisions. But of course, she also talks about her time in those troubled teen camps that she was in for about 17 months, and how traumatic and horrible those years of her life were. And I'm glad that she is now advocating for laws to be changed and for all of those camps to be shut down. Good for her. So far she is only just starting to talk about the tape that she did prior to the release of her show, The Simple Life. So good stuff there. I'm sure she will talk a little bit more about her maybe relationships and her career after that. But the main meat of the book was her time in those troubled teen camps, and I'm glad she was able to talk about it. And she is now trying to prevent that from ever happening to anyone else ever again. So far it is a pretty good memoir. I will probably not have too many thoughts about it at the end, but I will give my rating in the wrap-up, of course. So yep, that is my update. So stay tuned for the rest of the month. It's already been very, very exciting. So we'll see what else happens this month. And just a quick little update. As you have seen in previous footage, I'm currently reading the DC Rebirth Batman Giant Omnibus by James Tynion, the one that has Batwoman, Robin, Stephanie Brown, Cassandra, Clayface, all those people in it. I'm currently in the volume that was renamed A Lonely Place of Living. I have no idea which volume that is, but that's where I'm estimated to be at the moment. So far, I say that it is pretty good so far. I am learning about a lot of characters that I really haven't had much experience with. One in particular being John Paul Valley, aka Azrael. I think his sort of arc about religion and his past and stuff is fairly interesting. I just finished the volume where Zatanna was involved and there was magic. And I like a lot of the discussions, especially with Luke Fox and John Paul Valley, about faith versus science and enjoyment versus duty and, you know, personal stakes and all of that. Very, very fun stuff. Of course, my favorite part of the omnibus so far has been Basil, that being Clayface, and Cassandra Cain, aka Orphans. Friendship, dynamic, and both of them learning to grow with each other and become better people as a result. I just read the part where they're practicing Shakespeare together, and it's really, really sweet. And then the part where Basil has a breakdown, and it's Cassandra who goes up to him and says, like, we're both monsters, it's okay. I'm really, really loving that development as well. I am just reaching the point now where everybody knows that Tim Drake is technically alive, but he's like stuck somewhere in some dimension or something. I will be reading how he gets out of that very, very soon. Another reason why I wanted to give a quick update is because I finally got new books. I know, I'm a booktube account and I don't buy books, but I finally went downtown in my city and found some new used bookstores. So here are the 2 books that I got. So the first book that I got was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Of course, everyone and their mother has heard about this book. It is all over the booktube community, and I am looking forward to reading it because I think I like her adult stuff more than her YA stuff. I count the villains duology as more adult since they're college aged, and I am looking forward to reading this. This book was originally in my country $27 and I got it for $12. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. And then the next book that I got was The Lake of Dead Languages by Carol Goodman. I read this book, 5 years ago? I even recommended it in my Dark Academia series, and I finally got myself a hard copy because I first read this in audiobook. I've been looking for this for years. I'm so excited to finally have it. I have another one of her books that I thrifted a few months back, and I'm looking forward to reading that one as well. But for now, I'm so happy I have one of my favorite books finally in the physical copy. So stay tuned for my final thoughts on the omnibus and likely my wrap-up to come. Alright everyone, here we are at the final wrap-up for the month. I didn't read a lot of books, but I did end up reading a lot of one book. I read this entire Batman omnibus, so let's just get into everything straight away. Now, for my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster, I read The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I listened to that on audiobook, and I am giving that book 3 stars. Very well done, very effective, very emotional. Lots of interesting stuff about the nature of people, and the story of the man and his son trying to survive through the apocalypse was very, very good. I normally don't like stories like that, but that one was very, very well done. Next, I read Rouge by Mona Awad, and unfortunately, I am giving that book 2 stars. It just was not as good as Bunny or All's Well to me. I thought this book fell short. I thought there just wasn't enough to grab onto, and I thought that the development was very weak. I didn't enjoy a lot of the aspects of the cult, essentially, and I just thought this one was not as good as her other 2, what she considers her fairy tale trilogy. So this one was the weakest in my opinion, which sucks because I like Mona Awad. I'm still gonna read her, I'm still gonna seek her out, but this one so far has been my least favorite. Next, I read Paris the Memoir by Paris Hilton, and I'm giving that one 3 stars. I thought it was very well done, and just what I expected from Paris Hilton, where she talked about certain things, and of course, left a lot of certain things undiscussed, which is very her, but her discussion of her being forced into those teen rehabilitation camps is of course very important, and I'm glad she is advocating for all of those to be shut down and telling her story, because I didn't know about that prior to a couple of years ago. I thought she should have done a little bit more in the sort of like maybe revealing some gossip, but she was, you know, very fair, very neutral on everything, of course. But I just wish she would have talked a bit more about kind of like the gossipy stuff, like her feud with Lindsay Lohan and stuff like that. I just think that stuff is more interesting. Of course, she wanted to focus on her current life as DJ, being married, and having her child, her first child, Phoenix. So that's totally fine. That's where she was in her life. But yeah, that's why it's getting 3 stars, because it didn't really delve deep enough into that era that she was famous in. And finally, I ended the month reading the big boy. I'm not going to be holding this the entire time because it is much too heavy, but this is the Batman DC Comics, The Rise and Fall of the Batmen Omnibus by James Tynion. I think I'm going to be giving it 3 stars because while I really enjoyed the Clayface and Cassandra aspects of the book, the rest of it was just a lot of stuff I'm not normally into. I didn't really like the Tim and Stephanie dynamic. I didn't like Stephanie's choices in this book, but you know, she's allowed to do whatever she wants. I do not like Batwoman as a character. I think it's because I'm not a huge fan of like military stuff. I really don't like when Batman is just constantly connected to military stuff. That's very against his values. I understand he wanted to rein Batwoman in away from her father, who's very militaristic, and try and keep her away from using guns and stuff, so explaining why Batman recruited her. Also, she's family. It's a whole thing I totally understand, but I just do not like that aspect of Batman, where they try to add the military, they try to have the military copy him, they try to have robots. There's so many Batman military soldier robots with guns. I'm so tired of that. I really wish that they would do different things. However, Night of the Monster Men was ridiculous, and I didn't like that either, so I guess there was no proper middle ground in this storyline for me to really get attached to, aside from those characters. And I do wish Tim were in it a little bit more, because I haven't read a lot of Tim as Robin. So, unfortunately, this was not my favorite run ever, but I really did enjoy Cassandra and Clayface a lot. I really connected to them. I really enjoyed them. And this was not the worst Batman story that I have ever read. I have also started another book this month, but that will carry into September just because I know I'm not going to finish it. So that was my month of reading. A lot of exciting things happened. So I am not looking forward to September, but we will just take it as is, of course. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you all next time. It is so hot today. I'm going to turn the AC on now. Bye bye.